Jeremy, welcome to Manufacturing Happy Hour.
Great to be here. Thank you.
You were one of the serendipitous conversations I was pretty excited to find myself in last night because you're leading advanced construction robotics. And I always love hearing about robotics in areas that, hey, maybe we didn't expect to see them in the past, right? So, of all spots to double down on, why construction? Give us a bit about your background.
Sure. Well, I traditionally grew up in the robotics sector. I went to Carnegie Mellon University back in the early 2000s when we first started the desert race and the autonomous car efforts were kicked off. And, I was really excited about the future. My second life, I was a military officer, went to the Naval Academy for undergraduate. So I had my service to do in submarines, but I was really excited to get back to robotics.
Yeah. And I guess tell me a bit about the opportunity you saw in the construction space, right?
Yeah, there's a lot of growth in robotics in many different industries, and there's applications in every industry. And we're really in the beginning stages of a new industrial revolution centered around taking the old way business occurred, adding robotics and artificial intelligence, and now you have a new business that's going to be safer, cheaper, faster, etc. So when I looked at market sizes and opportunities, construction is one of the largest industries worldwide, $12 to $13 trillion a year. But secondly, historically, construction has not adopted technology quickly. It's only in the past decade or so has there been software services that have helped on the project management side of things. So there's a great gap in technology. And it's more than that, though. There's a large labor shortage in every industry, but skilled labor in construction has been struggling for 15 years or 20 years. And not only that, the productivity rates of the construction industry are one of the lowest, and they're actually declining. So if you put all those factors together, there's a large demand, not enough people. Something has to fill the gap. And I certainly believe robotics is the best machine or technology to fill the gap.
Well, let's get into the how it's made element of things, right? Because you're focused on, I think, just one application now, soon to be two. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Tell us about the one that you've started with as your first automated construction application.
Right. There's a lot of opportunity in construction, and we certainly strategically over the long term plan to do many products in many different segments of the construction industry. So we started in heavy civil construction in reinforced concrete and rebar installation. Why? My co-founder, Stephen Muck, also owns Brayman Construction Corporation, which is a heavy civil contractor. So we know a whole lot about the state and have a lot of experts to help us make the right decisions. So our first application is rebar installation. So our first product ties reinforcing bar together. So when you build any reinforced concrete structure, you have to lay down these long metal rods, right, called rebar.
Yep.
You put them in a grid pattern, and then before you pour the concrete, you need to tie those intersections together so they don't shift during the pour. And not only do you do that, typically there's two mats. Typically you have to do it twice. So you're talking hundreds of thousands to millions of ties, and the current state of the art is humans bending over all day for weeks, tying together with pliers.
Not good for ergonomics.
It is not safe. It's not just to walk on it, but more than that, over the course of a career. I mean, actually, this is Construction Safety Week this week.
Oh, no way.
We run our own little thought leadership podcast that we have on our website, and we talked about this week is that the big gain is over the course of a career. As you use robotics, people can work longer. People really get hurt through repetitive motion injuries, and that's one of the focuses on robotics. So we have a robot that ties reinforcing bar, and of course during our jobs that we've been doing already, people are like, "This is great, but when are you going to build a robot that carries the rebar?" Because boy, that is painful. So you can imagine there's say 5 or 6 people in a long row carrying 60-foot bars, maybe 4 or 5 of them, on top of rebar. Very, very dangerous and slippery and hard to walk in grid patterns, and they place it down by hand.
Yeah.
So coming out this year is our second product, which will lift, carry, and place rebar autonomously. And then, of course, our first product will come right behind it and tie it. So we really are doing the most man-hour bulk work of rebar installation. And
I feel like this is going to be like if you give a mouse a cookie, right? Like every time you automate something else, the construction industry is going to give you pretty good direction of, hey, this job also sucks. Can you do that next? So
yeah, that's one aspect is that, it's in some of the lectures and conferences they talk about is you're upscaling workers, right? So, most workers would prefer to do another job than bend over all day and tie rebar, right?
Yeah.
Right. And as we use robots to fill that gap and do that repetitive, painful process, the workers, there's plenty of work to be done. Remember, I talked about the gap that exists, right? There's more work than people. So it's best that we shift the current workers to the higher skilled tasks, which means they're doing better work, right?
What are the higher skilled tasks in that space? Like, what are people starting to, now that they don't have to worry about some of this manual work, what are the cool things they're getting to do then?
Well, so we have, for our suite of robots, and it is our plan that we send a person with the robot, right? So we basically run with the model of you send a person and a robot and you do the work of an entire crew.
Yeah.
Right. So that person, that's a whole new job category. And I'm quite proud of this job category because it's very matches to the old industrial revolution. So if you think back in the 1900s, there was new technology, combustion engines and electricity, and that created the electrician and the mechanic, right? Which is a common known thing now that didn't exist prior to that technology, right? So we're doing the exact same thing. We have we call him a robot supervisor that really supervises that robot or the suite of robots to get the job done. And that is a job category that hasn't existed before.
Yeah, we're hearing that in warehousing, packaging. People call robot supervisors, robot Sherpas, crew chiefs.
Wranglers, there's a bunch of names.
Wranglers is a good one. I like robot Wranglers is one of my favorites. It's got the Wild West vibe. At least that's my personal bias. But, as we're wrapping up, one question I've been asking everyone is, hey, where do you see things going in the next 3 years? I've been asking for many that generally in the case of robotics, automation, and artificial intelligence in general. But, hey, maybe we do it in the context of automation and robotics in the construction industry. Where do you see that going?
I just see it accelerating. Like I said, there's a large gap. So there's a lot of opportunity to fill that gap with technology to really make it's a win-win-win for everybody involved. So there's, I've been in this for 5 years. In the past 5 years, there have been many more entrants into construction technology. And I only see that accelerating to fill the gap. And obviously, the infrastructure bill has been passed, and just more and more demand is coming in. So I certainly see in the 3 years more people coming in, and over the longer term, I do see a future of the job site that's going to be a real mix between people and robots. It's not going to be all robots. There will always be people involved. And that's, the science fiction side that people need to think about and get over that, robots are not taking over everything. It's a smart machine, and everybody is happy for the iPhone they have now and the technology they have. So that's what will happen in the future.
Well, I'm looking forward to seeing what this job site of the future looks like. You're doing really cool things at Advanced Construction Robotics. I'll have ways for the listeners to connect with you after this episode wraps up. And Jeremy, I appreciate you taking the time to jump on.
Great. Yeah. Thank you. Thank you very much. And, visiting our website and our social media platforms are a great place to go.
Thanks so much.